Hi, welcome to Detours Understanding Acquired Brain Injury. And today, this is the third in Lisa's Love Languages installment. We've seen two interesting ones so far, and we hope this one is also equally interesting. We talked about the love languages for just everyone, and we talked about neurodivergent love languages. And this one, you're leading also. Could you tell us introduce yourself and what this one is?
This is gonna be love languages, the 5 love languages for children.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, they're pretty similar to the adults.
Mhm.
But I think also it depends on, like, with your child, like when they're a young age, you know, a lot of them are gonna want your attention.
Mhm.
That's like a big one. Because they want to play ball, they want to play with you, and by you spending time with them, it shows that you love them. Obviously, they know that, but and they love you too. Um, and that's basically, I would say that would be the quality time, spending time with them and playing with them. Um, and as far as gifts, we all know that kids love gifts. Not just at Christmas time or their birthday.
I was about to say, with us heading into the Christmas season, it's almost Thanksgiving here. It's like 3 days.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Like that one's a big one for kids.
Oh, yes. Let's see. Yeah, so gifts is a good one. Quality touch. Touch is a big one too, especially when they're small.
Yeah. Oh,
You
very
know,
much so.
oh, yes. They love their hugs and kisses. Oh, yes. That's a really, really big one. Also when they get a little bit older too, I think it depends on whether they're a female or male. I think, as we know, as they get a little bit older, the males don't always like their hugs in front of school or anything like that.
No, but you know what? It's like boys express their appreciation for touch differently. It may be a little rougher. It may be a little. It may be like a smack on the back or something like that, or like punch in the arm or something like that. But they still like it. It's just different how it's expressed, but it's still there. Um,
Yes. But it's a lot harder with the boys
it is,
to
and
see it.
as a parent, it's kind of more challenging, or as a buddy, because it's like
Oh yeah.
oh, like I said, like a punch or something like that. You can't get away with slugging your kid like that. But between buddies, friends, and it's important. I was talking with another friend of mine who was like, well, it's like love languages, but and she was thinking it was just between like married or engaged or whatever. It's like, no, this is between friends too.
Yes.
Um, because
Oh,
you
absolutely.
love your friends, you love your, it's like
Oh yeah.
your blood family members too, or should, as if the relationships are healthy. If the relationships are healthy, and I view, and I always talk about my TBI family, all the people that are friends and more, to me, that are those who help me, like remain centered and grounded and, make life worth living.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and I know a lot of people have friends that need a lot more attention than other friends. I have friends like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell the difference. And quality time, not so much. It depends. But anyway, let's get back to the kids.
Yeah,
Um, trying to think what other one. Oh, access service.
yeah. That's more challenging for kids though to at least understand the meaning behind that. That requires a little more processing power
It
to make.
does. I think like also just doing like little things for them, like little notes in their lunchbox or, little things like that. But for them to do access service, you'd have to really talk to them about it and show them. Like you said, it would be harder for them to get that, but it's easier for parents to show access service for them. It could be little things, and and depending on how old they are, it could be taking out the garbage or helping, you know, with their brother or sister, depending on how old they are.
One of the things about a true act of service as an act of love is it cannot be compelled. It has to be spontaneous. You can't make them do it. It's got to be something you want to do for somebody else to express your
Yeah,
feelings.
that's
So
true.
you can't twist someone's arm. It's not an act of service, and it is just a chore or job. It's got to be something
Yeah.
you want to do for somebody. You want to do as an expression of how you feel. Um,
Hmm. Wow. Hmm.
and kids do that.
They
Sometimes
do.
it's like clean up my room just spontaneously, and you're like, "Whoa, what the heck happened here?"
Yeah.
That is an act of service,
Right.
and it's not because they felt guilty or something like that. Again, that would make it not an act of service. Just spontaneously felt like it. It's unusual, but you see it sometimes. Or if
Yeah,
you
you
as an
do.
adult do something just for somebody like that.
That's very true. I mean, like I said, it all depends on how old they are too. If they're like, a little bit older, they can like maybe, you know, set the table for dinner like on their own without even,
Yeah.
stuff like that, or maybe getting the coffee maker started or whatever.
Yeah. Even when it's
Just
kind of like help daddy fix the car or something like that, or
yeah,
help mommy
without
make
even
a cake.
asking.
Yeah, but even if it's a mess in the process, even if they really can't do it, it's still an attempt to it's still an act of service, even if it doesn't come off right. Think about like people with acquired brain injury
Mhm.
trying, or the neurodivergent love languages, where it's not exactly what you expect. It's because it is a spontaneous act of caring
Yep.
that makes it what it is. Even if it isn't what you want or expect, I mean, it's still, or if you get a gift that's like, oh my God, it's that pink sweater that's two sizes too big, and maybe the sleeves are too short from grandma because, maybe, like if you remember A Christmas Story with
Yes.
Ralphie and the pajamas scene,
Hmm.
it's still a gift, even if it's a disaster,
Absolutely.
and it is still um one of the love languages.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah. It was
the
a thought. It was a try.
yes, and it's still a gift regardless, and it's still an act of love, even if, oh my God.
That was
So
good.
take it in the spirit, even if you're not going to use it, it's still about, and this is why I find regifting such a horrible thing,
I
you
know,
know,
me too. I don't like that.
and I won't do it
Mm-mm, me either. I've never done that. I keep the
because
gift or,
it is a rejection of the person's love,
yep, absolutely. And it just doesn't feel right. You're giving it to somebody else, like, yeah, just because you don't want,
what you're saying is I don't value
Yeah,
your love. No thanks,
nope.
not cool. You don't have to
Yeah, I've
use
never
it
done that.
necessarily. You don't have to use it, but at least like put it somewhere. You can put it away. But
Because you never know. You might use it one day. You don't know.
and
You never know.
this is coming from a disorganized brain injury survivor. I know. But still, I can at least perceive the value of the acts, even if I recognize that. Nah, maybe it ain't.
Exactly.
It's like I don't need a fifth little, a fifth watch, or like a sweater that doesn't fit. Yeah, number 20 of, but
Mm-hmm.
again, it is an act of love. Unless, of course, it's one of those office party deals, or like something like that, and they just couldn't
Oh
think of the
God.
damn.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a little different though.
Yeah,
If it's a friend, it's one thing, but if it's like somebody at the office that gives you like the fifth tie or whatever,
yeah,
you know
exactly.
what? It's okay. because they
Yeah,
don't know you well enough, obviously.
right. And if you're compelled, if it's like one of these damn Secret Santa bullshit things, we all know. On the other hand, then there are those like where it's your kid who, mommy, I made this, clay ashtray for you
Oh
because
yeah,
I can't make anything out of clay, and I had to do it in an art class, but it's got my handprint in it.
that's it.
And that is a valid, gift. That is an act of love from your child, and that's different.
Absolutely.
Or, you've suffered, forgive me for putting it this way, you survived your brain injury, and in when you're doing an art therapy, you make a little bowl or something like that that's missing a piece, and
That's
here you
all
go,
right.
here you go, sweetheart. Give your spouse, one of those, and you're like,
Right.
even though it's like, Jesus, what was I thinking? As more and more your brain comes back, you look at it, you're like, oh my God. But you know what? It's like
Hey.
I still would use it just because, again,
Yep.
like with your kid, it is an act of love. And it's like when I made like stuff when I made in rehab or whatever, it's like,
Hmm.
you know, give to your spouse. I don't know if you had to make anything for like during your rehab.
No,
No,
never did. No,
well, still,
nah, never had to do that. Hmm.
don't even want to go there. But, I think they're getting away from that kind of thing now, at least not as much.
Probably.
It's been a long time since, well, 94 was, which has
Oh, I'm
been a
sure they
little while,
changed it
but
since then.
oh, yeah, definitely. But those of us who are in needing help like that, yeah, art therapy, stuff like that, I'm sure they still do it for in the psych hospital, but because
Yeah, probably. Depending on which one.
I mean, when I was done depression after my brain injury, we did some of that too. And it kind of is a bit, patronizing, but
Mm.
it is relaxing in some ways. But then you look at your stuff and it's like, do I keep it or do I throw it out? It's like, yeah, we'll chuck it.
Yeah.
Because if you're not an artist, can't produce something. I mean, that's my own matter of pride, I guess. But it's like, I'm not an artist. I know I'm not. I'm not
Oh, I'm
going to give
not
you the
either.
crap I made. It's like, this looks worse than my kid would make. So, it's
Hmm.
one of those.
Very true. I know that.
All right. So it's the same as then for adults, for
Yeah,
kids,
it's pretty
right?
much the same as the adult love languages.
Are there any differences?
No, I don't know. It's pretty much the same, the acts of service, just how they express it. It's just a little different on what some of them may require, like I said, more attention or more quality time. It's just different with
That's a
kids than
big
it is
one.
with adults.
But the quality time, yeah, the quality time is really important with your kids. Put the
Oh yeah,
devices away. And in relation to brain injury with this one, it's even more important because kids who have brain injury have problems processing speed, comprehension, and language.
yes.
Kids do worse than adults. This is
Mhm.
something important to stress. It may look like they do better, but
Right.
as they start to demand more skills, um, they do worse because
Wow.
adults take on the functions of kids' frontal lobes and other areas. But when they start to reach their teen years, late teen years, are expected to do a lot of these skills by themselves. And you've heard me say this before, but suddenly they can't do them. And
Hmm.
so, I mean, all kids might be down here when they're 6, 8, but their
Right.
peers, are here then by the time they're 18 or 20. And,
Oh yeah.
it's like your kid is here because, they could only go to this point, and
Right.
they stand out because they kind of were frozen at when they hit that maximum point of development because their brain had to take over the lost functions and could only reach a certain point. And now they're acting like they're 8 or 10 when their peers are acting like they're 18. They're still playing with toys, or they're still like
Oh yeah.
talking in an immature fashion. They never develop their abstraction, their abstract thinking. And we see this with brain injured adults.
Right.
But the kids never grow beyond a certain point, and
That's
that's
sad.
where kind of they're stuck. And they
Hmm.
may be diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder, ADD, ADHD, learning disabilities, um, all kinds of
Um,
psychiatric diagnoses. When that's not the case, what they've got is a traumatic brain injury. And many docs, many psychologists, and others, they miss it and they don't ask, hey, did they take a good blow on the head? A friend of mine had asked this about her daughter. And, it was like, and had said, oh, she had two traumatic brain injuries. And I was like, what? She's like, oh, do you think this could cause it? It's like, yeah, two frontal lobe injuries when she was like 4 or 5. It's like, uh, yeah,
wow.
it could actually.
Yeah.
And I've dealt with clients and patients in the past. Obviously, for HIPAA reasons, I don't want to get into it. But there was
Hmm.
an individual who told me that they were in their 30s, and they're like, oh, I was always just kind of stupid. And I was like, no, no. And what are you getting at? Because I have a big old brain injury. And he said,
Hmm.
I fell down the stairs when I was like 7, 8, and I was like, fell down the stairs. And he said, yeah, I hit my head in the back, and I was unconscious. My mom, my dad, I
Wow.
forget who it was, laid me on the sofa, and I just slept for about 8, 9 hours. I was like,
Wow.
what? And he said, yeah, I kind of was groggy. I woke up after that, and it's kind of a little weird for a day or two, but I
Yeah.
was okay. And
You think?
it's, then I played football. I was like, and he said, do you think it could be from the concussions and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it could be,
Yeah, I think so.
and so maybe I wasn't just stupid or learning disabled, whatever. It's like, no, I think it's because you whacked your head really good a bunch of times. It's like, mm.
Wow.
If there are any professionals who ever see this, ask if your patients, whether it's emotional or cognitive, if they've got
Yeah.
any diagnoses like this, ask if they hit their head hard. Were they
Yeah.
unconscious for more than a minute or two? If the answer to that is yes, maybe they should get tested. And if
Yep.
your son or daughter, your kid, suffers a traumatic brain injury, or if
Yeah.
their heart stops, or if they're not breathing for a while, or they're underwater for a while, or if they inhaled a lot of fumes, they're painting or whatever, just maybe the reason they've got behavioral issues is they've got brain injury. I would think this would be obvious, but somebody that I talked to, they said their kid got wanged in the head with a swing and were knocked out. Call me crazy, but I would think that maybe that's why they have the diagnosis of learning disability and oppositional behavioral problems. Call me crazy, but I might think
Wow.
that a bang to the head. And it's like,
Ooh.
well, they didn't really have a bruise or anything. It's like, you don't need a bruise. As I've said over and
Right.
over, a good shake to the head is sufficient. This
Mm-hmm.
is why you don't want people smacking other people around. You don't want anyone like punching anyone, knocking you out.
Nope.
It is not necessary to be unconscious either. Okay.
Just any hit to the head.
A hit to the head and a bunch of hits to the head, most
Yeah.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, enough of that. We will talk about that kind of thing later, but
Yeah.
enough of that. Oh, by the way, one other thing. There is such a thing as childhood dementias. For example, Rhett's disease, childhood disintegrative disorder. Yes, there are childhood dementias. They are rare, but they do exist.
Thank God they're
Um,
rare.
yeah, usually they're chromosomal. There's a genetic malfunction, but they do exist. Child develops till about age 8 or 9, and suddenly, usually
Interesting.
they're usually fatal. Um,
Wow.
Rhett's is associated with girls primarily. It is typically sex linked. And I do plan on discussing dementias.
That would
and
be really
traumatic
good if you
brain
did that.
injury.
Mhm.
It's rather sad, of course, but and it often starts with just like they're kind of discoordinated, stumbling on the stairs, stuff like that is
Oh,
often how you pick it up.
okay.
It is almost invariably fatal. Um, like I said,
Wow.
it is gene linked and it is incredibly rare, but there are some treatments in the bucket currently, but again,
Oh, that's good.
it slows the effects down. Um, actually, Down syndrome is related to Alzheimer's disease. It has some genetic connections,
Okay.
um, but that is a
Wow.
whole other thing. CTE is,
Mhm.
and yes, it is possible for some of the so-called adult dementias to express in kids.
Mm.
Incredibly rare, but like really incredibly rare. I mean, you're talking like getting hit by lightning 5 times in a row rare, or winning the lottery 20 times in a row kind of rare, but it does happen. Um,
Mhm.
and then there are the weird ones like adrenoleukodystrophy and things like that. Again,
Right.
really rare. If you saw Lorenzo's oil, um, that's an example of adrenoleukodystrophy. Another childhood dementing disorder, progressive dementia. Again, really rare, but they do happen. Um,
Right.
so so it's like the reason I brought those up is because with brain injury and like the childhood views of the love languages, there's a lot of overlap, not only with the neurodivergent, but the fact that kids end up with brain injuries a lot, or developmental disabilities. Now, this channel doesn't really talk about developmental disabilities because even those that might be actually acquired brain injuries, it's hard to tell the difference, and how you treat kids who have developmental disabilities is different from what is applied for acquired brain injury, because uh, kids with developmental disabilities, usually the rehab doesn't necessarily work as much because they're going to have the disabilities for their lifetime, and because the course is pretty well set for them, whereas the profile looks different for a kid with an acquired brain.
Mhm.
Um, it's not that they won't forever have the disabilities, but what's done, and how they're treated and how rehab works with them. The
Mhm.
again, the profile and what works or doesn't work. And if the kid was developing normally for, let's say, 6 or 8 years, and then something happens,
Yes. There you go.
their memories of how they were before versus after, things like that. And
Exactly.
and again, their love language may change. In fact, to me, I think it would be more difficult psychologically and emotionally for an acquired brain injury, because why can't I do what I did before? What is wrong
Mhm.
with me? Versus somebody who has, well, for example, my eyes were always weak. I was born with bad vision to begin with. I don't know anything different. I don't. This has always been how I've seen. But
Mhm.
the brain injury, that was acquired. I remember things before.
Right.
And it's frustrating. And if you ask me, like, what was it like to have normal vision? Mm, never
Hmm.
had it. But you ask me what it was like to have the intelligence I had, the abilities I had before versus the way I am now. I can tell you, and it sucks, the change. But
Mhm.
you know what? Too bad. It's just the way it is, you
Yep.
know?
Yes, it is.
So I'm not saying kids who have, or adults who have, it's like if you grew up with, lived with, a developmental disability, it's easier. It's not. It's just as, but at least you're not burdened also with the memory of how it was before. So always
Correct.
been this way. It's just, like being bright too. It's like, what's it like not to? It's like, well, I've always been this way. I've always been away. But, to lose what you had makes it suck even more.
Mm. Yes, it does.
And, well, it's interesting. I mean, you have two acquired brain injuries. Well, three actually. You have in CP. The thing is, since you had your acquired brain injury when you were that one at birth,
Right.
you kind of have the experience of almost like as if it were developmental, but you had it when you were born. So, but you can
Yeah.
compare it to your traumatic brain injury. Which way would you rather go? I'm
Hmm.
curious.
I mean, the only problems I have is the processing. It like doubled or tripled, and
Mhm.
the sorry, with my way of thinking sometimes I can't think right now.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, the other thing you learn to deal with just because that's how you grew up with your motor issues as far as CP, but
Yes.
that's what you only ever knew. So there was no like sudden crap. Now I can't do it the way I used to. Now I have to learn all over.
Right.
And so that's what makes it like required much harder in that
Mm-hmm.
and like fighting your old way and your new way.
Right.
So and this is part of why the channel does not really talk about you know like developmental disabilities. That's
True.
so. Are there any other like things they mentioned about kids and their
I think we covered a lot, honestly. Like, as far as what they, their love languages are, and
Mhm.
and how parents can, basically help. Well, I don't want to say help, but help them, realize or help them with their love languages or help them see what they are. I know there's
Mhm.
a better word. I just can't think of it right now.
Yeah, no,
But
our brains are turning into pumpkins. It is nighttime, so
yes.
and we're both tired after working. But yeah, I so any recommendations that you would make personally?
um. Hmm. Boy, that's a hard one. I would say, boy, that's so hard. It really is because I'm like, um, well, just hold on. Like when you start, when they're young, what they want and what they, need, you know, try so hard to continue it when they become teenagers or at least when they you notice like, okay, well, they don't really like the physical touch. Okay, what else can I do to, that'd be the biggest thing, and try to continue that and help them see what their love languages are. So,
Oh, yeah, definitely help them
that's the
find
only
what
thing
their
I
love
could think
language
of.
is. For me, I would make two recommendations. One is, regardless of how they express to you, accept where they're at,
Mhm.
regardless. Accept whatever their love language may be. You, as the parent, need to make sure they know it's okay. So if they give you that that clay mug or whatever, and this applies if they have a brain injury even more so.
Mhm.
Um, they're doing the best they're able, and it is important that you accept where they are. They are not
Very
you,
true.
nor are they your own proxy. They are
Mm.
themselves. Your children are entrusted to you. They are not your property. Americans have this obsession with property and things. Children are entrusted to you. Someday they're going to leave and come their own people completely. They're not
Mhm.
property. Children are entrusted to you. They're your trust. They're your
Yep.
trustees. So you need to accept them where they are. And if they have brain injury, even more so are they your trustees. So accept their love language, accept where they are, what they have to give to you, as their expression of their love language. Secondly,
Absolutely.
people with brain injury, sorry about the noises. People with brain injury, even more so, are much more vulnerable. So quality time, if you can't think of anything else, quality time with,
Yes.
get off the cell phone, get off the computer, get off whatever.
Mhm.
Focus on that person. If nothing else reaches, quality time, maybe touch, quality time above all
Absolutely. That's the
else.
biggest thing.
It's like when I think about my own family, it's like, it's not the stuff they gave me that I remember. It's time spent with them
Yeah.
that I remember. It is those memories,
Absolutely.
the ones that are intact that I did not lose from. And not everyone loses their memories, with TV. I mean, and I kept most of them, and it's just some that are kind of missing or hazy or blurry. That care and compassion and the memory and the thoughts. Their kids are entrusted. So you need to respect and to love their ability to show love and compassion. Would you agree as far as like,
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree. Oh, yes.
I a lot of parents treat their kids like they are mini me's, like they are their proxies, or I didn't do this, so you need to do that. You need to,
Right.
no, your kids are entrusted to you, but they are not property. They're not a tool for you to accomplish your ends.
Right.
And so, and when a kid suffers a brain injury or whatever, they are like twice as vulnerable, twice as, and it's like they may even, I forget how that went. It's like the least lovable kids are the ones who need it the most. Kids with brain injury can be really challenging because they don't
Mhm.
understand, they don't know. Kids already have trouble with abstraction and verbal communications, language understanding, emotional regulation. And
Right.
then you add brain injury to that.
Very
And
true.
so teaching them to recognize their love languages and you expressing time is one of those
Right.
things. All right. So I just want to say, please like and subscribe. Any
Yes.
questions for Lisa? Please post comment below, and
Yep.
please any comments, thoughts, anything you'd like to add, please feel free. Look at our other videos. Um, we'll have any of the necessary links below, and please share with anyone else who may benefit from the knowledge. And like I said, like, subscribe, click the bell icon, and we hope to see you on our next one. We'll be talking about expanded love languages and other things related to it. So hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day. Good night. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.